That movie is a shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. It's all theater of the mind. No, it's garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? It is Friday, February the 4th, 2022, 2:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you are having a wonderful Friday. I hope you had a good week. It's hard to believe it's February already, but here we are. Yeah. It's February. It's February. Hey, look at that. A super chat already comes in from Andrew Stevens, and he sends in $10. Thank you, Andrew. Says, McRae. Come on, everybody. Throw a like for the stream. Hopefully people will do that. Obviously, it's free. It is. And obviously that helps the videos out with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. I just did a Q&A a few days ago, but I thought, I had some time this afternoon. I thought I would jump on, take advantage of the block of time that I had and talk to you guys and do another impromptu Q&A. Why not do it? Let's hang out for a bit and have some fun and see what is going on and what's happening, what's doing, what's shaking. Whatever you guys want to talk about. You want to talk, you want to talk Halloween? We can talk Halloween. You want to talk horror? We can talk horror. You got other questions? Fire them at me. I am here for a little bit. Fire them at me now. Do it now. Opening my water here. Ooh, what's that? Carbonated water? No, it's not carbonated. Don't you hate people that do that? It's crazy stuff. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, if theaters re-released Jaws, The Shawshank Redemption, and Halloween 1978, and also updated their trailers with new voiceover, which movie would you choose to be their voiceover talent? Which movie would I choose to be their voiceover? Like what movie would I want to voice? What trailer I'd want to voice? I'd probably want to go either Jaws. I'll pick Jaws. I'll go with Jaws. If that's what you're talking about. That's what I would do. Paul Williams says, hey, Dave, have you seen the BTS pics of Halloween Ends? I have seen the BTS pics of Halloween Ends. I have. Gavin _ the nerd says, what do you think of the choice to make the Riddler like the Zodiac Killer in the new Batman? Well, I don't know yet. I have yet to see the new Batman, as we all have. So, I'm like, again, I'm not I do like Batman, obviously. I like the, I was going to say Michael Douglas. That'd be a whole different Batman right there. The Michael Keaton Batmans, obviously, those are the Batman films that I grew up with. The first one was 89. I was 10 years old when the first one came out. I do like Nolan's trilogy. I actually think Batman Begins is my favorite. I know The Dark Knight tends to be everybody's favorite, but Batman Begins for me, I think I might like it better than The Dark Knight. I know that sounds like crazy, but it's true. And I discovered that when I watched them back to back to back a few years ago. My girlfriend hadn't seen them, so we sat down. This is like, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something. We sat down and watched Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. We had actually seen The Dark Knight Rises already because we saw it in the theater, but we sat down to watch all three in a row, and we did that over the course of, an afternoon. And at the end of watching them back to back to back, I thought to myself, I think I like Batman Begins the best. Kind of funny. Not that The Dark Knight's not amazing, it is, but anyway, so The new Batman movie looks, yeah. I mean, it looks fun. It looks good. I like the film noir, dark grittiness of it. It's got like, it's almost like Nolan's how the Nolan films were very much grounded in reality. It's got that vibe to it, but it's almost like it's taking that, doing the same thing, but going even darker with it. At least the trailers appear that it's doing that. So I'm excited to see it. And the Riddler, I mean, I don't really know much. I don't know much about the character other than what sort of the average person might know. And I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know how his character, I mean, I see from the trailers and whatnot, but I don't know. It's too early to tell yet. It's too early to tell. I mean, will the movie be good? It might be, hopefully. But too early to tell yet. So I don't know. You got the Riddler in there, you got Penguin in there, you got Catwoman in there. I just hope it's not, and it's almost a 3-hour movie, so it's probably why it's almost a 3-hour movie, is because you got so many people in there. So maybe it won't feel like it's too much, The more people you have and the shorter runtime, the possibility that you kind of feel that, oh, maybe it's too much, I don't really know. But we'll see. Too early to tell for me. Too early to tell for me. Okay, was that the only super chat? I believe it was. Okay, cool. Let's see here. GG says, Dave, thoughts on the T1000 downloading its memory banks to a server such that even if it's destroyed along with Cyberdyne as they were in T2, Skynet will exist. That's I don't know, dude. I'm not up on it. I know what you're talking about, but I don't really have any thoughts on it. I don't. It's too. It's a little too deep cut for me. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I don't really have any thoughts on it. I mean, I like the Terminator, but I'm not. I don't think that deeply about the Terminator. Dude says the Batman trailers haven't wowed me much. Some of the stunts and sets look perfect, but other than that, it looks like kind of bland to me. Then again, I'm a sucker for the original 89 film and Keaton. Well, I think it's just, although the last Batman film we got was 10 years ago, what Nolan did to ground it in reality and to present, I mean, it's almost the pinnacle of Batman in many respects. So, it would not surprise, I'm not saying it's going to be, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if once The Batman is released and it's out there and people really like it, but it wouldn't surprise me if people go, yeah, it's kind of like a Nolan film. It's very similar to that kind of feel and vibe, maybe a bit darker, certainly longer, and maybe they've taken what Nolan's done and kind of amped it up a bit. And it's just, how much more can you do? This is what I don't understand. How much more can you do? I'm not saying I'm not going to go see it, or I'm not going to, I'm not going to want to see it, but I just, I don't know, that people lose their shit like there hasn't been a Batman movie in 50 years. It's hilarious to me. You could make a Batman. They could make this Batman movie. It'd be amazing. And 5 years from now, reboot it, and there'd still be people going, "Wow!" It's like, God, you give. I don't know what it is. I think, yeah, like I'm with you. I watched the trailers. I'm like, yeah, this looks like it'd be a lot of fun. It looks. But like, if you had told me. Say I had fallen asleep after The Dark Knight Rises and I went into a coma and I came out of the coma 10 years later and you showed me that trailer, I would just think it's the fourth installment in the Nolan series. Like, it's got the maturity of it. It's got the grittiness of it. I would think, oh, this is like another Nolan kind of, like it wouldn't, there's nothing, I don't know. It's I don't know. Hey, let's hope it's good. Because I do want it to be good, obviously. But no, I wouldn't say I'm like blown. But then again, I'm the wrong person to ask, right? I'm not I'm not up on it like a lot of people are. But I hope it's good. Super chat from Southpaw82 sends in $2, says, new Texas Chainsaw Massacre looks to be a direct ripoff of Halloween. You mean Halloween 18. Look, I mentioned this the other day in my Q&A, that the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre trailer looks as expected. And I'm not going to say it looks horrible. I think the trailer's well done. It's well cut. But there's nothing about the trailer that makes me think this is going to wow us, that this is going to be nothing more than a footnote at the beginning of this year in the world of horror movies of 2022. It just looks expected, I guess. It wouldn't, I'm expecting people to watch it. I'm expecting once February 18th hits, because I think it's the 18th, I'm expecting people to watch the film, walk away from it going, yeah, fine. It was entertaining. It is what it is. They're following a formula that works, right? Because you, not necessarily you, but, the collective you, all of us have told the studios that that's what we want. That's what we like because we spend a lot of money to go see it. So, that's why. But yeah, it does. I don't think it looks terrible. But there's nothing about it that makes me overly excited or anything. The thing that perplexed me the most is I heard people, I mentioned this the other day as well. I heard people comparing it to, it's kind of got a vibe and a feel like the 2003 remake, the Jessica Biel one. I think that was 03, right? 03 or 04. I think it was 03. And I don't get that sense at all. I just don't get that feeling at all. I do not look at this Texas chain, the look of it, the way, just it doesn't, I don't get that vibe at all. Not at all. Not at all. So I don't know what people are seeing, but I don't see that. That doesn't mean it's going to be horrible. I just don't. I think the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre outside of the original, and I think there's an argument to be made that it's better than the original, is the 03 Jessica Biel film. I do. Full stop. End of discussion. David Lee Barron. Oh, hey, David, by the way, I don't know if you follow me on my Many Things Facebook page, but I made a post the other day after your question about lenses and what lenses we use, of course, in its Me Billy, and whether it, 35, 50, go as high as 75, what sort of, millimeters we were using. And I wanted to make, I didn't want to give you wrong, like I had kind of in my head what they were, but I wanted to make sure. Anyway, I posted some photos on my Many Things Facebook page for you, and Greg Bennett, our DP, also chimed in the comments section as well. So if you follow me on Many Things Dave McRae, go there and scroll down just, a few posts and you'll see it. So I don't know if you saw that, but I made that post for you. David Lee Barron sends in $1.99, says, Dear Dr. Pichet, thoughts on DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, I like DaVinci Resolve. For those of you that don't know what he's talking about the editing software, which started out really as a predominantly color correcting and color grading software. That was sort of its specialty, I believe, anyway. Well, it's since become sort of an all-in-one. You can do color grading and color correcting and, of course, editing and post. You can essentially do it all for the most part. Obviously, if you want to get into digital effects and things like that, obviously. But I'm talking about it in terms of the editing software. DaVinci Resolve has become quite popular, and it's used all over the industry. And it's what we use to edit It's Me Billy. Now, the reason why we chose DaVinci Resolve is primarily because our DP, Greg Bennett, uses DaVinci Resolve. And there's a free version, which you can download for free, but there's also the studio version, which you have to pay for. We use, obviously, the studio version because you get a lot of extra, stuff with it that you're likely to need if you are editing and creating a film. But and the reason why we did that, so my first experience with DaVinci Resolve was with It's Me, Billy. And that was because Greg, our DP, was going to be doing all of the color grading and the color correction on the film and the color timing and all that. So we wanted to be able to share project files back and forth to each other. And so that's why I downloaded DaVinci Resolve Studio. And there was a bit of a learning curve. Most editing softwares, video editing softwares are, relatively the same in terms of their layout and where things are. But there is a learning curve, obviously, if you're doing, if you're on Vegas or Avid or Premiere or Final Cut, or they all are similar in terms of you have the timeline and you have your window and but there's a learning curve. If you're used to one thing and you got to go to the other, there's always a bit of a learning curve to kind of find where things are in this software and find out how this does all the things that so there was a bit of that for me with DaVinci Resolve, and that what helped me is we actually edited the teaser trailer for It's Me, Billy, the one we released on Christmas Eve 2020. I spent 3 weeks editing that, and that was a real great trial run for actually editing the film. So editing the teaser trailer on that allowed me to figure out where everything is and, all this kind of stuff. They got great stuff in there. Oh my God, there's so much stuff in DaVinci Resolve. And I find it also less, I don't know if complicated is the right word, but Premiere I find unnecessarily complicated. And now, if you've used it for many, many, many years, well, then it's not a big deal because you know everything is. But Premiere, I find, is overly complex and complicated, unnecessarily so, in my opinion, especially for somebody who's coming onto it for the first time. DaVinci Resolve, I find, is obviously just as powerful, if not more so, and less, more user-friendly, let's just say. So I think it's great, and it's the only editing software I use now. So I love it. I think it's great. And the amount of stuff you can do with it is terrific. And it's a professional grade software. I mean, it's what they use in the industry. One of the softwares they use in the industry. Not the only thing, of course, but it's great. I love it. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you want to try it out. Again, there is a free version, so you can download the free version and you can tinker around with it and play around with it, and then depending on what your needs are and what the demands are of your project, you may have to upgrade to the studio version, but you may not have to either. There's a lot you can do with the free version. And there's a whole, it's not just the software. There's a whole, interface shit you can tons of, there's tons of stuff. It's a whole thing. I highly recommend looking into it. It's not just the software. There's a ton of other, hardware, too, that you can buy for it as well. Anyway. Good Real Hunting sends in $1.99. Thank you, buddy. Says, all-time favorite 80s movie, horror and non-horror. Ooh, Good Real. That's tough, my man. That's tough. All-time? I don't know, man. There's so many, I don't know. Off the top of my head, The Goonies, and then all-time favorite 80s horror movie. Oh, I'm probably going to go the original Elm Street, probably. Again, that's off the top of my head. Ask me tomorrow and maybe I'll have a different answer, but there's so many. It's tough. It's tough to do. Kevin L sends in $4.99, says, what are your top 5 Jack Nicholson movies? Oof, again, I don't know. I mean, Jesus, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, Chinatown. I mean, geez, he's been so great. The Departed, he was really good in, and I don't know, man. Like a top 5. Well, there's 4 there. I think I said 4. And then what else? I don't know, Batman, I guess. I don't know. He's been in a lot of great films. I'd have to really think about it. To give a true top 5, there's 5 movies off the top of my head that I enjoy. But to give a true top 5, I'd have to think about it a bit longer. Because, I mean, he's a legendary actor who has legendary performances in, terrific movies. I have to think about that a bit more. But there's 5 right there. Yeah. I love Jack Nicholson. And he's up there now, too. He's going to be going soon. By the way, folks, before I forget, I was waiting for a few more people to come in tonight. Don't forget, tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll mention this again a bit later in the show too. Tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast page, myself and Darren and Frank are going to be doing our best and worst of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. So Frank or Darren, if you're in the chat, I don't know if you are, but feel free to pop that link to your channel over there. If you have not subscribed to the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast yet, please do. They're great guys, great content, and I am honored to be their guest host through this Elm Street Best and Worst of series. And the Elm Street 3 episode premieres tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you go over and check that out as well. Let's see here. I got that one. Good. What else we got? We got Vince Pender says, what if Michael wants to go home 24/7 because he's waiting for his parents to come back home? Well, that would that would sort of imply that he's he's lost all sense of reality. Obviously, he's cognitively not capable of differentiating the past and the present and all that kind of stuff. He truly believes that he's, probably still 6 years old or something to that degree. It's an interesting take. I don't think that's what they're going to do. But it's interesting nonetheless. David Lee Barron follows up with $9.99 and says, Dear Dr. Pichet, I know the Red and the Airy are excellent cameras to shoot with, but how about my Sony A7 A7 IV? Is that what that is? Camera. It's not a Hollywood camera, but I think a decent movie can still be made from it. Thoughts? Well, I'm not familiar with the Sony A7, but I do know that they are good cameras. Listen, let me say this, and, I've said it before, and I want to say it again. So there is a misconception, not by everybody, and I'm not saying that David thinks this, because I don't believe he does, but there is a misconception that if you're able to shoot on the Red or the Airy, then that means your image is going to look great. And everything's going to look amazing. The reason why It's Me, Billy looks as good as it does is not just because we were able to shoot on the Airy. As I always say, you can have the best piano in the world, but if you don't know how to play it, it doesn't matter. I don't know how to play the piano. I have no idea how to play the piano. So you could put a multi-million-dollar piano in front of me with the best piano. I don't know what would make it the best piano, but the best piano, or the best guitar with the most incredible string. I don't know what would, but I think you know what I'm trying to say, right? But if I don't know how to play it, it's going to sound like shit. So what really makes films look magnificent is the team behind them. So your DP, your camera team, your first and second assistant camera, your gaffer, right? Your lighting team, how you light an image, right? Where you place the camera, what lenses you use. It has nothing not nothing, but you can shoot on the Airy and make a film look bland. You can shoot on the Red and make a film look bland, right? There's a lot more than just, I have the Airy now, hit record, point, shoot, and away we go. It doesn't work like that. So the point I'm making is that you can shoot on the Sony A7 and have it look magnificent if you know how to, what lenses to use, depth of field, how to light your subject, how to light your scenes, right? You know what I mean? You can really make something look really good. How to craft the lighting and craft your shots. That's what it's really all about. At the end of the day, I mean, it's not that black and white, but at the end of the day, that's really important. And because we were working with a professional crew who've done this time and time again, they knew how to craft the lighting and craft the shots so that it can benefit using a camera that has the dynamic range of an Arri Alexa or an Arri Mini, right? I mean, these cameras are worth like $100,000, depending on the version you're using, they can be worth over $100,000. Replacement value. I mean, these are the cameras they use to make Hollywood films. So you want to hire a team that can craft the lighting and then works with you as the director to help craft those shots so you can take advantage of working on a camera like that. Because if you're not going to do that, then what's the point of renting an Arri? You might as well just shoot it on your phone, right? If you're just going to point and shoot, right? So I always want to make that distinction because some people have, not a lot of people, but some people have said, oh, well, It's Me, Billy looks is really good because, you had this. Yes, we had that. But if we didn't have the team behind it, it wouldn't look like that. It's not like you just hit record on the Arri and suddenly the image looks like that, right? I mean, it looks good. Don't get me wrong. Even the raw log files look spectacular. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so, yes, to your point, David, you absolutely could shoot on that. And as long as you understand lighting and you know how to craft your shots and what lenses you want to use and how you light your subjects and your scenes and things like that, you can make it look really good. You can. Now, the camera obviously doesn't have the dynamic range that something like an Arri would have or a Red would have. So, you have to be careful in that sense. And the sensor obviously is not the same and, all that. Sure. But if you know what you're doing, you can make it look really good. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, I mean, it's having the right tools, and having the right people that know how to utilize and bring the best out of those tools. Because it's absolutely pointless. It is absolutely 100% pointless to rent something like the Arri or the Red if you don't know how to use it. Or you've hired somebody that doesn't know how to bring the best out of it. You know what I mean? It's pointless then. Why are you doing that? It makes no sense. You have to have the tools and the people that know how to utilize the tools, So, yeah. Again, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be, like the Red or the Arri, but certainly you could definitely bring the best out of that camera, maximize it to its fullest. Why not? And then present an image and it's like, wow, this looks really good. Absolutely. But yeah, so anyway, just keep that in mind. Yes, it was great shooting on the Arri. I can't wait to shoot on the Arri or the Red again. 100%. It was magnificent. It was a real learning experience because I'd never shot on it before. But to watch the team we had behind the camera work, and our gaffer and our grips work to craft the shots and the lighting, and Greg and his team work. I mean, it's more than just the camera. It's more than just the camera. But yeah, great question though. Let me see here. Got that. Okay. Hey, there's the slaughtered lamb. Darren, were you able to? Oh, Darren. Feel free to toss your link to the show tonight or to your channel tonight. Again, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Darren, and Frank over on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast page. We're doing the best and worst of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. So Darren or Frank, feel free to pop that link in the description when you can, and I'll mention it again in a little bit. Alex Schambach says, Dave, would you like to see Robert Englund return as Freddy if we could have a new Nightmare movie in the next 2 years, even though that may limit sequel potentials? Would I like to see Robert Englund? No, I don't care. It's nothing against Robert. I just think he's too, I just don't care. Robert is, I don't think he's too old to play look, I mean, no, I just don't, no. It would be for nothing more than nostalgic reasons. I mean, the man is almost 75 years old, I think, anyway. Hey, Google, how old is Robert Englund?
Robert Englund is 74 years old.
Okay, so like I said, he's almost 75. And this is not personal. It's personal in the sense that he's 74, I guess. But it would be for no other... If I wanted him to return, I know in my heart, it would be for no other reason than the fact for nostalgic. It would be for no other reasons than for nostalgia. I don't think he's the right man for the job. If you want to do a direct sequel, I guess, to 3 or to the first one, and you want to bring him back, I guess, I don't know. But his portrayal of Freddy on the Goldbergs a few years ago, Robert is older now, not as slim as he used to be. And I don't mean that he's huge. I just mean that he's a little chunky now, right? He looks kind of chunky. It's chunky Freddy, so I just don't think I don't think it's necessary. Do I think they may do it? Yeah, I do, because it's nostalgia. It's Robert Englund. It's one of the greatest horror villains portrayed by the guy who originally did it. I think it's great for box office. I think it's great for studio dollars, but I don't necessarily think it's the best choice. I don't care to see him back. I really don't, because it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be Freddy from part 1, 2, or 3, or 4. He's going to look like he did on the Goldbergs, and maybe even older now, because even that was like 4 years ago. So let it go. I think it's time to cast somebody else. Cast younger. Robert was like 35, 36 when he did the original. Just go younger. It's not necessary anymore. But it all depends too on what Freddy do you want? Do you want dark Freddy? Oh, I know what I want, but I guess it all depends on what Freddy they want to go with, right? Are they going to go with dark Freddy? Are they going to go with comedic Freddy? But anyway, the question was, would I like to see it? And the answer is no. No, I don't. I think Robert's time is done now. Hang up the glove, let it go. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. They'll probably cast him, and why not? But no, I don't care. And it's not personal. I love Robert. It's just, come on. What else we got here? What else? Let me just scroll back here. I didn't miss any super chats. Did I? No, I don't think so. All right. William Jackson Jr. says, people sometimes talk crap to me and my videos in my comment section because I love doing horror movie reviews. Sorry if I never got around to It's Me, Billy. I'll try to work on it. Well, that's okay. There's no obligation to review It's Me, Billy. Geez, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't, that's okay too. Don't worry about what people say to you in the comments section. I know that's extremely hard to the average person. We all hope that people like what we do, but at the end of the day, we have no control over that. If I had a dime for every time I had somebody on YouTube say something nasty about me, or if I go to my YouTube studio and I look at the comments that have been picked up by the YouTube algorithms and placed on hold, and all the nasty comments and vile things that have been said about me there, if I had a dime for every time that happened, I'd have a lot of dimes. So, as I've always said, if you are doing this in hopes that people like you, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You have to do this because you want to get it out, right? Whatever it is you want to talk about, you want to get it off your chest, talk about it, and let it go. And if people like it, great. If they don't, that's okay. You know, you're always going to have people that don't like you. They either don't like the way you look, they don't like your personality, they don't like the way you come across. With me, it's largely how I come across, right? I've been called a condescending, pretentious douchebag because I'm very theatrical and I'm loud, and you know, I'm a performer, so I like having fun and being silly and taking things to the extreme, you know, and for some people, I think most people get it now, right? Like I've said many times in the past, I think people are starting to understand my shtick. Not that it's not truthful, but I come on here and obviously I'm a performer and I'm an actor, so I like to, you know, be theatrical, right? But for some people, it might rub them the wrong way. They might see that as pretentious or arrogant or just too much. You know, he's too loud, you know? I get that all the time. But it's me. I'm not going to stop doing it because it's me. So you either like me or you don't. It's not my problem at the end of the day. It's your problem. I mean, if you don't like me and you continue to tune in, well, that's your problem. I mean, who does that? I hate that person, but I'm going to continue to watch them. Why? You know what I mean? You know? So my advice is do your best to try and ignore it. Don't let it get to you, right? It happens to me. Happens to everybody, you know, it happens to a lot of people that do this. I was going to say it happens to everybody, but maybe it doesn't happen to everybody. But certainly there are a lot of people I know on YouTube that it happens to. Just don't let it get you down. Just keep doing your thing, doing what you're doing. Be proud of the content you're putting out. If you're having a good time and you're putting it out there, then great. And then you just let the chips fall where they may, you know, and your audience will find you. If you keep doing it and you're consistent and you don't let the weird fungi get to you, your audience will find you. You'll develop a following, you'll develop a community, you'll develop the people that get you, that understand you, that like watching you, that like talking to you. It happens, but it takes time. It takes time. But do not worry about the fungi in the comment section below. Life's too short, man. Life's too short. Let's see. What else we got here? Just scrolling. Keep that scrolling going. Scrolling. Let me see here. What else we got? I just want to see if anybody else I haven't got yet. Yes. Oh, wait. No. Okay, so that was the last super chat. Okay, good. I just want to make sure it was the last one. Let me see here. Good Real Hunting says, my honest opinion, it's me, Billy. I have as the best fan film ever because it felt like a real movie released in theaters. Amazing job. Well, thank you very much, Good Real Hunting. Really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, that's not the first time people have said that to us. And it's obviously, I mean, it's a huge compliment, right? You know, that's what we want. I mean, we worked really hard to make it look and feel and sound and come off like that. So thanks for saying that. Really appreciate it. What else? Mike Johnson said, oh, that's another Billy question. Mike Johnson says, in addition to It's Me, Billy, I thought Jason, oh, here, okay, good. In addition to It's Me, Billy, I thought Jason Rising and The Haddonfield Nightmare were my favorite fan films of 2021, in my opinion. Well, there you go. It's his opinion, folks, and he ain't changing it. Let's see here. Let me see. Scrolling. Oh, there's a super chat. Brandon Barry sends in $4.99, says Patrick Wilson would make a great Freddy Krueger. Patrick Wilson, a great Freddy Krueger. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't really see it. I wouldn't think of him. So I don't know. Maybe. I have no idea. He wouldn't. He doesn't come to mind when I think of somebody fresh to cast, but hey, you never know. Let's see here. What else we got going on? Destiny Faulkner has made her way into the chat room. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Destiny Faulkner. Galford's dog says haters are usually professionally jealous of someone. That's funny. I've never heard that term before. Being professionally, I'm a professional. I'm jealous professionally. I do it professionally. I'm jealous professionally. Yeah, Yeah, sometimes that's it. I don't think that's necessarily always it, but certainly there are people that hate or that troll because they are jealous. It might not be something that they're necessarily conscious of, but they don't like you because you're good at what you do, but they're not necessarily thinking that they're jealous. They would paint it very differently. They would never admit that. I mean, they would never say, oh, yeah, I fucking hate Dave McRae, or I hate, I don't know, the Slaughtered Lamb, or I hate, whoever, because I'm jealous of them. That's too much of a humble thing, or you would have to be very humble and mature to be able to admit that. And usually trolls are not mature at all. So even though, to your point, that might be true in some instances. But yeah, I mean, certainly I don't know why anybody would be. I certainly hope there's nobody that's jealous of me. What do they be jealous of me for? Just do your own thing. That's what you have to do. Don't be me, be you. That doesn't mean that, I mean, I'm very happy if I've inspired people. That's really cool. But don't jump on your YouTube channel and try to be me. That's not what you have to do. You have to be you. As John Candy says in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm the real article. What you see is what you get. People like me. My friends, no, what does he say? My people like me. My friends no. My customers like me. Yeah, that's right. My customers like me because I'm the real article. What you see is what you get. Yeah, it's about being real, right? About being true and real. And the only thing with me that, like, again, as I said, I think what rubs some people the wrong way with me is just how theatrical I am, but it's my nature. It's not, I'm really not arrogant or pretentious. I'm entertaining. I come on, it's like a show you've bought tickets for, but yet you haven't bought any tickets. Do you know what I mean? I just love performing and being entertaining and being theatrical and being silly. And I can't get on here and not do that. But yeah, always be you, and your viewers will find you. Hopefully, anyway. If you're good, because listen, it's talent. You have to have talent. Okay. We can't just say that, that's just the reality, right? You have to have some level of talent to draw your viewers in. That is true. But it's not just that, there is more to it, but certainly talent does play a part. Ethan Self, I think that is, sends in $4.99. Thank you, buddy. Says, Dave, what are your thoughts on David Lynch and his works? I don't mind David Lynch. I can't say that I'm a huge David Lynch fan. But I don't mind his films. Yeah, I don't mind him. I don't mind his films. I haven't watched a Lynch film in a while, though. David Lynch kind of reminds me of another David in Cronenberg, but not exact. They are different, but there's some similarities sometimes I find with some of the movies. But anyway, yeah, I haven't watched a Lynch film in a long time. Not in a long time. But I don't mind him, though. Evil Alex says, Jackie Earle Haley was great. The remake itself was the problem. Jackie Earle Haley was okay. He was okay. I wouldn't say he was great, in my opinion. I think he was fucking amazing. But he certainly was not the problem of the movie. That I agree with. That doesn't mean that if we were not, if I was not to retell that story or reconstruct it, that I wouldn't reconstruct his portrayal a little bit. But he was not the reason why that movie failed. No. I agree with that. All right. I think, yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. All right. What else we got here? What else we got? Louis Armando maybe. Were you always this animated, or were you shy and reserved at first? I've always been this animated. Yeah, no, this is, I think, I see what I did there. Okay. I thought my light back there went out for a minute. Did it? No, it didn't. Okay. No, I've always been this animated. That's a good question. Thanks for asking it. So, I come from a very, how some families are just very extroverted. They're very outgoing and silly. And, I come from that kind of a family. My father obviously was very extroverted, wasn't afraid to tell you what he thought. And my grandmother too, his mother was very silly and extroverted. And so it definitely runs in the family. I was a class clown in school. Ever since I was a little kid, I was always a class clown. In high school, in junior high and high school, I was the class clown, always trying to make people laugh. I was that kid. I was, on the improv team. I excelled in drama, no surprise there. Made home movies in the 90s with Bruce. So I was always into movies and things like that. And in college, when I went to college, I was same. I was, silly and theatrical. And, I had, this sounds very arrogant and sort of self, like I'm being braggadocious, but I don't mean it to sound that way. But I've always been very good at doing that kind of thing, doing comedy. I have a good sense of comedic timing, and which is why I was on the improv team and this team and that team and I was in plays and all that kind of stuff. So I've always been that kind of a person. So naturally, I'm never not going to not be that person. Now, that doesn't mean that that I'm that way all the time and that I don't know that there's a time and a place for it. It's not like I'm going to be like that at a funeral, right? Or, there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff. You have to know the differences. But I do like being in front of people and performing. So yeah, I've always been like that. And I was like that long before I was on YouTube. So it's not like I got on YouTube and I just decided to be that way because I was on YouTube. No, I just brought myself, who was already like that, onto YouTube. So yeah, I'm just being me. I mean, that's why I've never changed in the 5 years I've been doing this, because I can't, it's who I am. Right. So, yeah, no, I've always been like that. And my family's like that too. My brothers are like that. Oh yeah. Like if you were to meet my brothers and my sisters and yeah, well, my parents of course have passed, but same thing. My extended family is like, my extended family on my dad's side, not so much on my mom's side, but on my dad's side, oh my God. Like exactly like that. The life of the party, you'd be at a family gathering and, if you were a shy individual at a McRae dinner, good luck trying to get a word in edgewise. You got to speak up. Like you got to just jump in. You can't wait for your turn. Just fucking jump in and say your shit. If you're shy and timid and you're at the dinner table with like a family gathering of McRae's, good luck. You know what I mean? Because we're all... I mean, that's, we're that kind of family. So I've always been like that. Good question. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. What Lies Beneath? Ooh, I don't know if I've ever seen a What Lies Beneath in the chat room before. I really like that Harrison Ford movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. One of my favorite Ford movies, the year 2000, made about $155 million at the box office. Saw it twice in the movie theater. I really like the movie. And What Lies Beneath is actually one of my favorite Harrison Ford films. Trivia, directed by Robert Zemeckis, the same film crew that did Castaway, also did What Lies Beneath. They shot the first half of Castaway, and then Tom Hanks had to lose a ton of weight. So Zemeckis and his crew went off and shot What Lies Beneath in the, 8 months or whatever it was that Hanks was trying to lose all this weight. And then after that was done, the same crew then went back and shot the last half of Castaway. Zemeckis said that he would never do that again. It was very hard changing course, because you're so passionate and emotionally invested in one film to then get emotionally invested in another film, only to then go back and get emotionally invested in the previous film. He said it was too much of a it was weird, and he would never do it again. But both movies are fucking great. So There you go. Anyways, what lies beneath? Your question here was, Dave, I really appreciate that you also talk about different layers and abstract interpretations like theater of the mind. Thanks for your work. Well, thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate that. Hey, listen, I don't claim to be an expert. I don't have degrees in psychology or sociology. I'm just a very inquisitive person, and I like to learn about this stuff as it relates to the things that I am interested in. So learning about psychology and sociology and, all these things philosophy in general, I might have to kind of really focus myself. It's getting easier as I get older, I think, because you're wiser, you're older, you're more mature. So you maybe have more of a natural general interest. But I will definitely perk up and be totally zoned in, locked and loaded when we're talking about philosophy or psychology or sociology as it relates to, film, right? And storytelling and, the execution of film and cinematic language, like that stuff. I learned a lot of this in college as well, but that stuff I really find interesting because it's also relating to something that I am really passionate about. So I think that made sense. My apologies if it didn't, but it made sense in my head. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. I think it's, if you're younger, at least when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily thinking at this level, but as I've gotten older and as I've matured, I've come to really appreciate the many different layers of filmmaking and symbolism and, as I said, cinematic language and all that kind of stuff. And that doesn't mean that every movie you analyze or every movie that is analyzed, it is the correct interpretation, because sometimes you'll have a filmmaker say, that's how you interpreted my movie. No, that's not what I was doing at all. And the only people, in my estimation, that can truly tell you what the film is about is the filmmakers. So you can interpret a film any way you want, but if that wasn't the intention, well, then that means it doesn't exist. Now, you could draw up a conclusion and say, well, maybe it exists unconsciously, and, the filmmaker did it unconsciously, or they didn't realize they were doing it and all that kinds of, there's many different layers beyond that you can go as well. But I believe intention matters. So sometimes it's really cool to watch layers of a film or to interpret the layer that you think are the layers of a film. You're like, oh, I think that's what they're doing. Like, you take The Shining as a perfect example, right? So many different layers to that movie, and it's a lot of fun to talk about. And some are probably true, and some are probably like, no, that just so happens that you could interpret it that way, but that wasn't the intent of Kubrick to do that. Intention matters. But certainly, yeah, those things do exist in films. And sometimes, maybe even more often than not, they are deliberately there, depending on the filmmaker. If you have a filmmaker that's not really their style, then it's probably a happy accident. But if you have a filmmaker who's known to do that, like Christopher Nolan or Stanley Kubrick or even Spielberg, then there's a safe bet that even if you're not 100% correct on your interpretation of whatever it is you're trying to analyze, there may be a good bet that you're on the right track. There are just filmmakers that tell deeper stories and use symbolism and layers and cinematic language to tell that story. But not everybody does that. So anyways, I appreciate you saying that, because I love when it calls for it. Not every movie is like that. You watch a dumb comedy for 90 minutes, it's just a dumb comedy for 90 minutes. Even sometimes even a horror movie can just, sometimes, a horror movie is just a horror movie. But we all know that a special film comes along every now and then and you're like, there's more going on here. You know what I mean? So I like that kind of stuff too. Thanks for saying that, man. I appreciate it. Let's see here. What else? Oh, super chat. Was that 2 super chats? Just 1 super. No, there was 2. Yeah. Kevin L sends in $4.99. Thank you, buddy. He says, what is Stanley Kubrick's magnum opus? First of all, I think I know what you mean, but let me look up the meaning of magnum opus. I think I know what you mean. Just a sec here. Yeah. Right. That's what I thought. Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because there were 2 things in my head and they're actually combined. It's a good question. I would say that well, listen, I mean, for horror fans, they're going to say The Shining, but I don't think it is. I think it is probably either 2001, or you could even go before that, because he had films before that as well. But I think 2001 is a special movie. And the reason why I say that is because it is about, I don't want to say it's about humanity, but for all intents and purposes, it is about humanity. It is about the existence of us and who we are and the evolution of our species and, where we've come from, where we are, where we're going, and sort of the often cyclical nature of that. When you see the Star Child at the end and, rebirth, reincarnation, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a beautiful film. I think it is slow. I watched it for the first time when I was about 13 and, thought it was very slow and didn't understand it. But as a man in my 40s now, I appreciate that. It's a genius film. Not just the effects, but the realistic interpretation of space. When I was a kid, you were so used to Star Wars and you wanted things to have sound and to blow up and to explode and things to be fast and quick and all that kind of stuff. But in reality, 2001's portrayal of space is exactly how it would be. Completely silent, slow moving. That's what it would be. Now I know I think when they're out in space, you sometimes hear like the breathing of the suits. But that's all you hear, and really accurate interpretation. I love it. And I didn't appreciate it when I was a kid. And then of course, when Dave starts going where he's going and he's entering like this other dimension and world, and all of a sudden he sees himself as an older man, and then all of a sudden there's the monolith and what the monolith means, and that film has been analyzed just like The Shining has as well. And I've watched all the analysis on that film too, and it's a beautiful picture. There's a lot of it's scary, but there's a lot of meaning in that film, a lot of cinematic language and a lot of symbolism in that film. And that was the kind of director Kubrick was. And so I think because yes, it's a what would be known as like a thinking man's movie. It's quite highbrow. But I believe that it lends to the sophistication of it, and it lends to the having it like that lends to the credibility of the film. And it feels so real and so powerful. That's why it feels so powerful, is because it is so nuanced and so particular. And Kubrick was such a particular, nuanced filmmaker, very detail-oriented, a perfectionist. The pacing of the film and how things feel so deliberate and methodic and important. Every shot, every angle, every moment feels, is properly motivated and intentional, and it's powerful. It's a powerful film. I didn't feel that way when I was 12 or 13. I remember, again, my dad had rented it for me because he loved it. But I was like 13. I remember thinking, like the opening of the film, I remember thinking that, Jesus, one of these fucking apes going to be, it's like, what the fuck, But now I get it. I understand it. I'm like, wow, you're seeing the dawn of man. And that cut when the ape throws the bone up in the air and it goes into the air, and on the cut it changes to the satellite, I think it was, or whatever it was. Was it the satellite or the ship? I can't remember which one. It's the juxtaposition between archaic technology, for all intents and purposes, and future technology. Right? It's that cut right on that thing. That's cinematic language. And that was beautifully done. Beautifully done. They don't tell you that. It's not like there's a line that tells you, oh, hey, here's what's going on. No, it's just is. It just is, and it's clear that's what the interpretation is. But as a 13-year-old kid, I didn't know that. But as I got older, I'm like, oh, fuck, that's genius. And listen, today we see movies that are maybe made like that all the time. But in 1968, you have to remember for the time frame for which the film was released as well. So it's a brilliant picture. And I definitely think that is, if not his best, one of his best, the film that will stand the test of time, I think, too. There are others that are great too. I mean, Barry Lyndon, A Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, Lolita, Spartacus. I think he did that one, right? I mean, there's so many, but that one is probably, I think, his masterpiece. Although there's several that are pretty damn fucking good that could be seen as that. All right, let me see here. Got that one. DM Owen sends $4.99, says, why can't they get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre right? The franchise is all over the place. The franchise is garbage. Okay, well, why can't they get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre right? Because I don't think it's something that, here's the problem with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in my opinion. I don't think it's something, I mean, you could apply this level of thought to everything. But to all the, films, but you sort of pigeonholed yourself to one location. I mean, I guess they all do. Woodsboro, Springwood, Haddonfield. But there's something about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that just feels like, I don't know, dude. Maybe it's just not that good. Have we ever thought about that? Like, have we ever thought maybe to admit that maybe it's just a one and done kind of movie and that's it? Not every slasher killer is good enough to have sequels that are pretty good. Maybe Leatherface is just one of those characters that just isn't that good. Have we ever thought about that? Maybe it's just true. Maybe that is just the reality. One of the big problems that Hooper did was, there's the 74 film, which takes itself seriously. And then there's like 12 years later, he releases a sequel, which is a complete satire and farce. I think it was 12 years later, right? 86. So it's like, what? It's two completely different tones, and that's it. They're all crap except for the remake in 03. But then they did Texas Chainsaw, The Beginning, this happened before, which was the same kind of thing, the same movie. I just don't know if you can expand on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, really. And what can you do with the character that hasn't already been done? Unless you're just reinventing yourself and you're making something that isn't Texas Chainsaw, but you understand that it's in the spirit of that. It's based on, it's inspired by, because I don't know, guys, I like the character too, but maybe he just doesn't have longevity. Maybe we just have to be honest with ourselves and say, because even if they had remade it again and made it gritty and dark and bloody, okay, well, there's another one. So where do you go from there then? What do you do? Unless you set it up like a trilogy. I don't know if this movie's done that, but maybe you write a big long story that makes sense, that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you break it up over 3 films, and therefore you have a trilogy. Maybe you do it that way. But to have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that has a beginning, a middle, and an end in that one movie, and it's complete, then you start over again. It just becomes like Friday the 13th. And we all know what happened there. The kids go back to the camp, and it's almost like, so now it's Texas Chainsaw 2. It's a new group of kids traveling through Texas. Ding, 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 ding. What more can we do with this character? Sometimes, folks, the best thing to do is just to admit that it's over. It's over. It's done. Let's move on. It's done. I mean, I've yet to see Scream 5, but I just heard that they're doing Scream 6. It was greenlit, and they're shooting this summer. Now, is that a surprise? No. It made over $100 million at the worldwide box office, a critical success, by all accounts, a fan success as well. And so they want to capitalize on it. Strike while the iron is hot. That's what it's all about. It's about making money. So it doesn't surprise you, but then I'm like, really, another Scream movie? And I haven't even seen the 5th one. I'm like, oh, God. Why? Because you go see it. If you want to be guaranteed another Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, you better, no matter how shitty this new one is, you better watch it 55 times. All of you, watch it 55 times to get those views up. Because if Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix starts trending for 6 weeks, they're going to make another one. And it's in their top 5 for 6 weeks. They'll make another one. But anyway, back to your point, or back to your question, excuse me. I think the reason why they haven't gotten it right is because I just don't think there is a lot of material to go with. It's just a guy in Texas who murders people the ways that he did. Okay. But if you want to make a series out of that, you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over again, every movie, and it kind of sounds like most horror franchises, so, I don't know. But I think what really set the franchise back hugely, though, was the weird choice to go from serious to satire and goofy in the sequel in the 80s. That totally. Now, listen, I know there's a lot of people that like that movie, but I'm just saying, where do you go from there? It just fucked everything up, in my opinion. Yeah. Maybe it's just not that good. Let me see here. A couple more came in. Here we go. Ethan Self sends in another. Oh, no. No, that's right. Southpaw 82 sends in $5, says, would you be open to directing other genres other than horror? Absolutely. Such as action or comedy. Your personality leads me to believe you'd make great comedy. Maybe. Depends on the comedic actors, right? And the timing and the situation. No, for sure. My favorite genre is horror. Always has been, always will be. I just love thinking about ideas and stories and creating moments and shots and scenes. And yeah, I would be okay if I had a successful career in directing horror movies. I would be totally okay with that. But would I be open to directing like an action movie or comedy? Oh, absolutely. If the script is good and it makes sense and I feel I can do it, yeah, for sure. I'd be totally down. Ethan Self sends in $9.99, says, I got another one I am curious about. Sure. Did you ever see David Fincher's Gone Girl? I have. I find it underrated in his filmography. Yes, my girlfriend read the book and we went and saw, it was 2014, I think, Ben Affleck. Rosamund Pike. We went and saw the movie in the theater. I hadn't read the book. I'm not a big reader of fiction. So I enjoyed the film. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I don't know if I've seen it since, though. Do I own it? I might own it. I don't know. But I liked it. Yep, I liked it. Underrated in Fincher's filmography. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it's a good film. It's a good film. Yep. I like it a lot, man. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Let me see here. Oliver Mercer sends in £5. It says, hey, Dave, if you had the opportunity to take a long space trip, would you? Plus, have you shipped It's Me, Billy Blu-ray for the UK yet? The UK It's Me, Billy Blu-rays have not been shipped yet, but they are next in line. I shipped out a bunch earlier this week. Again, more to the US. So don't worry. They're coming. They are coming. I think you got a few in there, if I'm not mistaken, Oliver. If I had the opportunity to take a long space trip, yes, as long as I could come back. Which kind of means no then. Because if we're playing this seriously, because of relativity, I mean, if I'm traveling it depends if I'm traveling at the speed of light, I guess. But if it was like Star Wars or Star Trek and you could hop on a spaceship and travel at warp speed or light speed and, explore like a planet, get out, the planet has oxygen, walk around, explore, meet cool people, then get in your spaceship and fly home all in the same day and nobody's aged when you get home. Because let's be honest, that's why light speed and warp speed in Star Trek and Star Wars is not accurate because of relativity. it just doesn't work. By the time they got back to wherever they came from, everybody'd be dead. So as long as it was like that, yeah, totally. I would love to pilot the Millennium Falcon and travel around space. That'd be awesome. Or just even as a passenger, or just a spaceship like that as a passenger. Yes, I'm down, totally down. But what reality is right now? No, it's not safe enough, and I don't want to leave everybody behind. I don't want to do that. That's crazy. I don't want to die out in space. That's just ridiculous. But yeah, if it was like Star Wars and all that shit, for sure, man, for sure. That's a good question. Thanks, Oliver. Daniel Hirel sends in $4.99, says, my man Dave, God bless, brother. Hope all is well. It is. Who is the most famous person you have ever met? I met Mick Jagger, super cool guy. The most famous person I've ever met. I think somebody asked me about this not too long ago. The most famous person I've ever met. Well, I've met a fair number of what would be, I guess, considered famous people. There's two reasons for that. Number one is, again, I grew up in a media family. My father was a very prominent journalist and columnist in Canada. So long before I was born, he met a ton of people. I've said this before, but on my back wall here, I have pictures of my dad with the Beatles, with Robert Kennedy, former Prime Minister of Canada, Burton Cummings of the Guess Who, Liberace. I got photos of my dad with like John Candy and yeah. So my dad, and then of course when I was born, when I lived with my dad, because I lived with my mom for the first 10 years of my life. And then I moved to Ottawa, which is where my dad lived, which is the capital of Canada. And I lived with my dad I lived with my dad from the time I was 10 to about 20. So through my high school years. And I met a lot of sports athletes, mostly hockey players. When the Buffalo Sabres would come to town, Buffalo, they suck. God, they're a terrible hockey team right now. But when the Sabres would come to Ottawa and play, my dad would take me into the dressing room and things like that. So I got to meet like Pat LaFontaine, Grant Fuhr, whoever was around at that time. I have Wayne Gretzky's autograph sports athletes mostly when I was a kid. I used to sit up in the press box too, which is really cool when my dad would be covering a game. I've sat in the press box a couple of times. So when I left home and I pursued my own career, I didn't have an interest in pursuing journalism, although I probably could have, because I already had an in because of my father. But I wanted to pursue movies. I wanted to be a filmmaker. So that's what I went to college for and all that. And then I left college and I was doing the on-camera acting thing and doing commercials and stuff. And then I fell into the voiceover, and that's sort of my ticket into the entertainment industry, was the voiceover side of things. And through voiceover, I've met all sorts of different people, all sorts of producers, directors. I've been to a lot of, parties where there's been, cast members from Schitt's Creek there and Degrassi and there's it. But I would say that like the most famous person I've met and spoken to, I don't know, because it's relative, right? I would say maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. I've been on, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm taking this way too seriously. I'm way too serious about this stuff. I'm like, let me think here. Let me take up all this time and think. I'm way too serious about it. It's a good thing because I take my time with answering questions, but sometimes I can take too long. Well, I'll say this. I'll say that, and I've said this before, I didn't formally meet them, but when I was nominated for my Voice Arts Awards, my third nomination in 2018, I was at Warner Brothers and I was walking the red carpet, and ahead of me was Rosario Dawson, and behind me was Sigourney Weaver. And in the middle was myself and my girlfriend. And we were on the red carpet. The photographers were there taking photos, all that kind of stuff. That was really cool. So to be in close proximity, I didn't meet them. I could have, I guess. I didn't. But that was really cool. That was really cool. To be, and not just to be there, but to be there as a nominee was exciting. And then we exited the red carpet. We were ushered over in this direction, and Sigourney Weaver walked off. She was there. Well, they were both there receiving an award. I think Sigourney Weaver was getting some sort of icon award. And I just remember she was tall, and she was in this long green dress. She looked stunning, absolutely stunning. She was beautiful. And then of course there's my Kurt Russell story at the Roosevelt Hotel. And then at the Voice Arts Awards, I talked to a lot of, voice actors that you may not know their names necessarily, but you definitely heard their voices. I had a good conversation with Bob Bergen, who's the voice of Porky Pig. And a few other voice actors there as well. Frank Welker, of course, was there, and just a lot of different people. Or was it Frank Welker? Was that the No, was that the Voice Arts Awards, or was that somewhere else? They're bleeding in. My memories are bleeding into each other. That might not have been the Voice Arts Awards. That might have been. Anyway, I'm trying to think. And then, of course, who else? Well, I mean, I guess I've been to conventions and I've met a lot of people there. But the most famous, I don't know. William Shatner. I said hi to William Shatner at my very first Voice Arts Awards that I went to in 2015. William Shatner was there getting an award, and he was ahead of us on the red carpet. And I remember we went onto the red carpet. Malcolm Jamal Warner was there too. Theo from The Cosby Show. He walked. I didn't say hi to him. He walked by us. But I remember he was there. I was like, what's he doing here? Michael Winslow, the guy that does all those sound effects and shit. I did have a good conversation with him. He was there. This is 2015, but Shatner was there. Now that's a pretty big name, right? And I remember saying hello to Shatner and using the Canadian connection, like, oh, hey, I'm from Toronto, and he was born in Montreal, I think. And he was like, I didn't talk to him long. It was just sort of a brief exchange. But that was kind of cool. So yeah, Shatner maybe. But there's a lot of different people over the years that I've met either being in the business myself or because of my father, which is really interesting. I mean, I remember we had, like politicians over at our house for dinner, not lobbying, not like that. I mean, that's just like, local people and things like that. It sounds like a lobbying thing. Not in that way, just because they were actual friends. So yeah, just, I don't know. It's a good question though, is it? But Mick Jagger, dude, that's cool. Mick Jagger's cool. That's cool. That's a big name. That's iconic. Mick Jagger is definitely cool. Definitely cool. All right, let me go back and see. Got that one. Okay. Super chat from Nico. Is it Nico _13 sends in $2. Thank you, buddy. Says, hey Dave, do you like the movie Hellraiser? I do like the first Hellraiser movie. I do like. Yes, I do like that one. I do like that one. And I wasn't a big fan of the others, but I do like the first Hellraiser. Yeah, I do. Oh, that's funny. Don Wilk 91 says, I met Jerry Springer when he was running for governor. Well, that's funny because my dad was on Jerry Springer twice. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. For those of you that are watching that may not know that, my father, now this was before Jerry Springer was Jerry. It was before that. When Jerry Springer first sprung onto the scene, when he first sprung onto the scene, in the early 90s, he was very much like a Montel Williams. Like the talk show was kind of serious. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't crazy. And my dad in 93, I think it was, I have it. I have the clips. I've been meaning to put it up online. My dad, very quick here. My dad was a big Elvis fan. My dad was actually going to meet Elvis in the summer of 1977, but then Elvis passed. And my father is a huge Elvis fan. And in the late 80s, there were all over the news, there were these reports that people think they see Elvis. And I think it was in and around the Kalamazoo, Michigan area. I saw Elvis here. Elvis sightings are not uncommon. Oh, they're kind of uncommon now. But back in the day, Elvis faked his death and all that kind of stuff. That was a big thing. And my dad decided with his friend, there's a restaurant in Ottawa called the Newport. And my dad decided to create what was known as the Elvis Sighting Society. And you could call the Elvis Sight, it was a joke. And you could call the Elvis Sighting Society if you think you spot Elvis in and around Ottawa or something. It was so silly. And the story was that Elvis did fake his death. He moved to Ontario, Canada, and lived in this little town in between Toronto and Ottawa called Tweed, Ontario. That was the whole shtick. CTV News did a thing on it and everything. It was hilarious. What it really was it was a charity. And you could donate to the Elvis Sighting Society, and they would, on behalf of a lot of different charities and organizations, I think they raised close to $1 million in the years that it was around. It's kind of around now still, but I think since my father's death, because my dad was really the leader of it all, it's been sort of, I don't think it does much anymore. It still exists. The restaurant's there. It actually switched down the street. They downsized, but it still exists. And the owner, Mo Atala, who was my dad's best friend, he's there still. He's older now too, so they've downsized and that. Anyway, long story short, the Jerry Springer Show in the early 90s was doing this thing on Elvis, and they got wind of this story of this thing up in Canada and the whole thing. And my dad went on talking about the Elvis Sighting Society and playing it straight, playing it real. Well, my dad because obviously my dad's passed. My dad had a friend who was a high school teacher in Ottawa named Bruce McGregor. And he was just a high school teacher, a gym teacher, I think. But he had a band. He had this band called Bruce and the Burgers, I think. Now, he couldn't sing like Elvis, but Bruce could talk like Elvis. And he sounded exactly like Elvis Presley. I kid you not. It's like, if you know Elvis, it's like, wow, that is mint. The right cadence, the stammering, everything. So of course, Bruce McGregor calls from his high school in Canada to the Jerry Springer Show, pretending to be Elvis in Tweed, Ontario, and that's on the show as well. And my dad is on there. When you watch this, because I will eventually upload it. When you watch it, you'll probably see me in there. You'll see me and my father, the way my father is, the way he handles himself. Oh my God, it's hilarious. And then my dad went on Jerry Springer again 2 years after that in 1995 on the cusp of the Jerry for the same thing. And it was my dad, and then my dad said, no, I'd never go on again. Because then it got crazy. By 97, it was crazy. I mean, if you're old enough to remember, it was crazy. I mean, they started to release Too Hot for TV Jerry Springer VHS videos. It was insane. Anyway, that's my Jerry Springer story. And well, it's not mine. It's my father's. But as his youngest son, I had to, of course, live through that in high school. Your dad was on Springer last night. I'm like, oh my God. And of course, I had to explain it all, right? So it was very interesting growing up. I'll just put it that way. But yes, that's funny that you bring that up. So I never met Jerry, obviously, but my dad did a couple times, naturally. I'll upload it eventually. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Destiny Faulkner. Hello, Destiny. Thank you very much for the $1.99. Says, did you watch the trailer for X? If so, thoughts? I have seen the trailer for X. Thank you for asking about that. I'm interested in seeing it. It's got a Texas Chainsaw kind of vibe to it. And yeah, I'm interested in seeing it. Hang on, let me bring that up there. It's almost like Texas Chainsaw meets porno. It's kind of a weird vibe. But I think the director's talented, and I am curious to see what he's going to do with this material. I have a feeling people are going to like X better than Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix. It's just a feeling I have, because it sort of is Texas Chainsaw, but they're adding almost their own spin to it. Do you know what I mean? It's got that vibe to it, but they're adding their own spin to it. And I think it's sort of kind of it's a rebrand, almost like not a rebrand, but like a little bit of freshness injected into the premise. I'm not saying it's Texas Chainsaw, but it has that vibe to it, a little bit. And so I'm very curious to see it. So yeah, I wasn't blown away by it, but I'm curious. Yeah. I'm interested in checking it out for sure. Oh, the Slaughtered Lamb says, happy birthday, George A. Romero. Happy birthday. Rest in peace, George A. Romero. I'd love to have that last name, Dave Romero. Doesn't that sound great? Dave Romero. Actually, McRae's pretty good because it's only 4 letters. 4 letters? MCRAE? I'm like, is it just 4 letters? It's 5 letters. But I think it, it's because it's only short, it sounds good. Like any short names sound, short names, sometimes 1 syllable, most 2 can sound good. Could sound good, like a superhero or something. I don't know. All right, let me see. I've been going, all right, that's not bad. Let me check the, I don't think I have any other super chats. I don't think so. Let me see here. No, got that one. Okay, cool. I can tell you though, speaking of things that are, celebrities, people, things like that. I've told this before. I know I have. I'm not repeating this because I don't think that I've told this, but it is still really cool. When I had dinner with Mickey Yablans and his family in 2019, well, he came to the Voice Arts Awards with his daughter in 2018. I treated them, and then they had myself and my girlfriend over to their house in 2019 for dinner. Wonderful dinner, great family. And that's cool because he brought downstairs, Mickey Yablans, obviously the son of Irwin Yablans, the creator and the producer of Halloween. He brought down an original shooting script. No, excuse me, not a shooting script. An original, I think it was shot list. I believe it was shot list. It wasn't the shooting script. It was original shot list, I believe, of the original Halloween. And he brought down an original reel, right? An original recording of the original Halloween theme, like on the reel. Well, it wouldn't be like that because it's not a film, but it's audio. He needs like a. We couldn't play it obviously, but when I was holding that, I think there's a video on my channel that was really cool. I mean that definitely is a highlight for me in my life for sure. To be able to actually hold that in your hand. An original recording, like from the studio, from 1978, of the original Halloween theme. That was really cool. Yeah, that's something I'll never forget. That's really awesome. And I took photos. Like I said, there's photos, but there's a video on my channel. If you YouTube Dave McRae, Mickey Yablans maybe, or no, Dave McRae Carpenter original score or something like that. I forget what the title is, but it'll pop up. That's really cool. I think I'm actually wearing the same hoodie in it. Funny enough, I don't know why that dawned on me, but that's cool. That's really cool. I mean, those objects are not celebrities, but in some ways, they are. They're really cool fucking stuff, I'll tell you that. And that's where I noticed, and I took a photo of it, and I posted it all over my social media. All over my social media, where I noticed in the actual shot list of the script, Judith isn't Judith. It was it Susan? Darren, that, or Frank, that, because it was the same name on that Japanese, on the back of that Japanese vinyl that Frank got. What, I think it was Susan, was it? Her name in the shot list wasn't Judith. I think it was Susan, which was interesting. And I was like, oh, does anybody know this? You know, I mean, who the hell has this, right? Nobody. And I'm like, does anybody? So I took a photo of it and I shared it. I think it was Susan, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that was interesting. So that's cool. That's cool. That's a highlight for me, for sure. That's a highlight. Yeah, it's been an interesting, my career's been of course, it's not done yet. I'm only 42 years old, but so far it's been a very interesting ride. Met a lot of interesting people, producers, directors, writers, actors. It's been interesting, and yeah. And hopefully many, many, many more years to go. So Susan Myers, I think. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, I think that was it, because a few months ago, Frank got, I think it was the Japanese vinyl or something of the theme or the original soundtrack or something. And on the back of that, funny enough, it said Susan Myers, I think. And I said to to Frank and Darren, I was like, oh, that's interesting, because in the original shot list, her name was Susan. It wasn't Judith. Now, I know in the shooting script, it says Judith, but that, to me, I mean, I stand to be corrected, obviously, but to me, that must have been a name that was settled on later or just before they went to camera or something, because it wasn't always Judith. I can tell you that. It wasn't always that. And I had the original, it was right there, and I'm like, oh, I'm going through, well, I didn't lick my fingers, but, I'm going through it, and I'm like, oh, wow, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, really cool. So that's a cool experience. That's definitely a cool experience that I'll never forget. And shout out to Mickey and his family, who are just amazing people. Mickey is a fucking hilarious. Hilarious. I love that dude. He's so funny. Okay, we'll go for a few more minutes here. Wait, did I got all the super chats, right? Yes, I think I did. All right, let me see here. Oh, and I'll say it again here, folks. Tonight, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast YouTube page, YouTube channel. Myself, Darren, and Frank are going to be doing our best and worst of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Frank and Darren have been kind enough to have me as guest hosts for this series, and tonight we're doing Elm Street 3, best and worst of. So make sure you head over to their channel tonight, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when the video goes live. You'll watch it. You can chat in the chat room and everything. Make sure you tune in. Frank or Darren, feel free to pop that link in the chat room there, so people know. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a fun episode. And I think they're only going to get even more fun as the series goes on. Evil Alex says, Dave, what is your favorite video game? What was your favorite video game as a kid? P.S. I loved your Mario voiceover skit you did. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I wasn't a big gamer, but I played video games like all kids, did. Like the average kid had a Nintendo, and, I liked... Well, I mean, like I said in that video, the one that you're talking about where I did the voiceover, not the voiceover. I was just sitting in front of my TV playing the game. I played Super Mario 2 a lot. And I beat the game. I did beat it, although I think I had to beat it with the Game Genie. Do you guys remember the Game Genie? I think I cheated. I think I did. Anyways, I know I'm admitting it now, like 35 years later. But I played that game a lot. Like, I exhausted that game. I also like the original as well, Super Mario Bros. I also like Ghost and Goblins. Remember Ghost and Goblins? Like that. I was a big fan, when I got a Sega Genesis, I was a big fan of NHL hockey. NHL 94, NHL 95, it was like the best hockey game in the world at that time. And, being Canadian, come on, play some hockey, you know what I'm saying? So definitely that was a favorite when I got my Sega. I don't know if there's like a favorite though. I don't have a favorite. It's just, I lean towards playing some more than others because I just like them, I guess. But I wasn't a big gamer, so it's not like I had like stacks and stacks of them and that's all I did. And, but those are a few there. Rad Racer, Blades of Steel, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I liked Mike Tyson's Punch-Out a lot. I still remember the code. To Mike Tyson. Because you can go through all the guys, or you can put in a code at the very beginning of the game, and it'll take you right to Mike Tyson. 007-373-5963. 007-373-5963. That is the code to Mike Tyson. Ladies and gentlemen, do it now. Pop in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and away you go. If you have yet to beat Mike Tyson, and you don't want to go through all the guys, there you go. 007-373-5963. The Slaughter Lamb says Ghosts and Goblins, brilliant. I love Ghosts and Goblins. I thought that was a lot of fun. Yep. Thought that was a lot of fun. Let me see here. Tony Movie Chappie, D9 Neil Blomkamp fan. That's a long name, my man. Dave, question. What do you think of Rambo Last Blood? I have yet to see it. I still have not seen Rambo Last Blood, my man. And do you think it got way too much hate just with critics calling it Trumpian anti-Mexican nightmare? Well, that I think is just garbage. Although I don't know for sure because I haven't seen the movie. But I will say that I do remember the backlash that came out at that time, painting Mexicans as sort of, and but again, there's no nuance. It's like there are Mexican drug cartels. They really exist. Mexico, although there are wonderful people, just like in the US, just like in Canada. In Canada, we have wonderful, hardworking, genuine, trustworthy, amazing human beings, just like in the United States, just like in Mexico, just like all over the world. But just like in Mexico, there are drug cartels in the United States. There are I don't know if there are drug cartels in Canada, but certainly there are gangs here in Canada. It's a movie. It's a movie, man. The movie's not saying every Mexican is like this. Come on, that's just silly. That's just ridiculous. That's just like, come on, let's grow up. Come on. Anyway, I haven't seen the movie. So I can't speak to it, for certain. But based on the pulse of our world right now and our woke world right now, I'd say there's a high probability I'd watch that movie and go, oh, for fuck's sakes. Come on, shut up, get out. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Pick and choose your battles, folks. There are things to be angry about. There are things to try and say, hey, that's not right. Hey, I don't think we should do that. Those things do exist. I highly doubt Rambo Last Blood is one of them. But hey, I haven't seen the movie yet. But I do want to see it, though. I do want to see it. Okay, what do we got? Hubba Bubba, says Ryan. Hubba Bubba. I like that. Hubba Bubba. That's a gum too, isn't it? Isn't that gum? I think it's gum, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we'll take this, we'll go another 5 minutes, and then we will call it a day. Another 5 minutes, ladies and germs, 5 more minutes, and then we are calling it. It was great to jump on here with you guys and gals and just, talk movies and whatever, just shoot the shit for a bit. I had some time, so why not do it? 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes to go in the game. John Mellon calling says, hey, Dave, I haven't seen the new Scream yet. Neither have I. I have been with my girlfriend now for 2 years tomorrow. Congratulations. I want to take her out and see it for our anniversary. I've heard it's pretty good. It's got pretty good reviews. Do you recommend? Well, I haven't seen it yet either. But here's what I would recommend, Johnny. Is your girlfriend a Scream fan? Does your girlfriend like Scream movies? Does your girlfriend like horror movies? If the answer is no to all the above, then it might not be the best movie to take your girlfriend to go see on your 2-year anniversary. You should try and pick a movie that you both want to see. However, if you both want to see Scream, then knock yourself out. That's my advice. But I cannot tell you to go and see it or not based on whether I think it's good or not, because I haven't seen it yet. I've not seen it yet. JBeach12078 says, Dave McRae, thoughts on a fan film to It's Me, Billy? There's a fan film to It's Me, Billy? Or do you mean just thoughts on somebody doing a fan film to It's Me, Billy? That'd be fun. That'd be amazing. If somebody actually did a fan film of It's Me, Billy, that would be like, I'd be quite touched. I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. Knock yourself out. I think that'd be amazing. If somebody wants to do an It's Me, Billy fan film, I say go for it. I think that'd be funny. That'd be really funny. That'd be really funny. Loggerhead says, hey Dave, what do you think of the Creep Show 1 to 3 if you have seen them? I have seen Creep Show 1 and 2. I haven't seen them in years. I didn't even know there was a 3. Because I can see the cover of Creepshow 1 and 2 in my head right now. Part 1 is the one where he's in the movie theater and he's in that aisle and he's like looking back like this with his hand or something. I haven't seen them in years though. I liked them. I liked them as a kid when I watched them. Yep. I like them. I didn't even know there was a 3 though. Neil Rook sends in £2 and says, make 25 Scream films. I will watch them all. Well, hey, that's what they're counting on, right? That's what they want. That if you want more Halloween movies and more Scream movies and more Elm Street films, that's what you got to do, right? Even when they're bad, you got to go watch them and you got to come out and support them, right? Because otherwise they're going to go away. Because that's what it's all about, right? So it's all about. That's why they keep making more, you know? So I'm not that kind of person. I don't particularly like doing that. I'm much more of a quality person than a quantity person. But hey, you know, you're in good company, man. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people that don't care, you know, whether the movies are good really at the end of the day. They just want more of those things. So, you know, yeah. All right, what do we got? A couple more minutes. Johnny T says, hey Dave, thoughts on what's going on in Ottawa right now? Ottawa spelled Ottawa. It's Ottawa. Ottawa. I know it sounds like Ottawa. It would take me too long to get into right now. I think it's I think what's happening right now is it's unfortunate what's happening because what started out as something maybe potentially positive has now turned into something that is just getting on everybody's nerves now. So yeah. And I think there's going to be even a protest this weekend in Toronto as well. So I agree with the principles of it. Like I agree that, you know, you have a right to protest and some of the things that they're protesting, I see their points on and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that I think they're largely have overstayed their welcome now and they're causing issues and, you know, and now it's going to turn into you have to know when to get out. When you protest, you have to know when a protest, because I think the people now that were on their sides are now starting to kind of get annoyed too. So anyways, I could go into it, but hey, Ottawa's 5 hours away from me. So, and I'm nowhere near downtown. Not nowhere near, but I'm not in downtown Toronto, so I don't have to worry about the protests this weekend, and I don't have to go into downtown this weekend, so that's good. All right, Keith Ashenbranner, Ashabranner, is that how you say it, buddy? He says, you watching the NHL skills competition? No, I totally forgot. It was the All-Star weekend this weekend? Nah, I don't watch it. Nah. I don't care about the All-Star shit. I really don't. Now, it's not to say that if you want, I can watch it. That's awesome. I'm just not a big fan. All right. I think that's going to do it. Let's see here. I got all the super chats, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just do a quick scroll back here. Yeah, got Destinies. Got that one. Yes, Oliver. Yep. Okay. I think I did. I think I got them all. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to do it for me here on this Impromptu AMA. I always love, jumping on and out of the blue and David Lee Barron gets one in right under the radar, man. Just at the nick of time, at the stroke of midnight, right at the sound of the horn. David Lee Barron puts one in and he sends it $1.99. Says, what is the most tedious task of filmmaking for you? The most tedious task of filmmaking for me. I would probably say writing. I would probably say the writing process is the most tedious, not because it's the task of writing is difficult. No, it's very easy. But writing characters, writing dialogue, scenes, and there's so much you have to think about, right? And so I would say that writing is probably the most difficult, mentally tedious task, I think, is the writing process for me. And I think you'd have a lot of filmmakers that would agree, with that. There are filmmakers that just direct and don't write, right? You know what I mean? And sometimes there's combos, there's writer-director filmmakers. But I would say that, yeah, writing is the most tedious. It can be fun too, because you're creating the movie you're going to shoot. But there's a saying in film, I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, that there's the movie you write, the movie you shoot, and then the movie you release. And all that means is that what you conceptualize, what you imagine in your own mind as you're writing, isn't necessarily exactly what ends up on the screen when you put out your movie. You hope it is, that's what you want, but there's a lot of variables that come into play once the script is done and you actually move into production. Budget, locations, there's a lot of variables things, you have to switch around this, you got to sacrifice this, you got to axe that, you got to add that. It's a lot of things that can happen. So, the movie you visualize as you're writing isn't necessarily exactly what is released. It's usually a version of, you know what I mean? That can happen too. And listen, when you're a studio filmmaker and you have the studios that are distributing your films, that's even more apparent. The movie you write can often be the movie that isn't released because you have a sort of, you got the studios breathing down your neck to, well, let's change that. Let's axe that. No, we don't want to do that. So that can happen too. When you're financing them on your own, you can do whatever you want as long as you have the funds to do it. It's me, Billy. Generally, it's me, Billy. There were a couple things that didn't turn out exactly the way we wanted them. Still turned out fine and good. But for the most part, it's me, Billy was exactly what I'd say like 99%. Seriously, was exactly what we wanted to do. But that's largely because we were the studio and there was nobody breathing down our necks and we had control of the funds and we had, we were hands-on. We had that creative control. That's not always the case when you're doing studio pictures. So, but yeah, for me, I would say the writing process is probably the most tedious, a lot of mental exhaustion writing, a lot of mental fatigue in writing. That's what I would say. Keith says, Dave, you pronounced my long ass name right. Woo! That phonetically sounding out voiceover skills sometimes come in handy. I'm telling you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget, tonight, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast. Myself, Frank, and Darren are going to be breaking down our best and worst of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Make sure you tune into that over on the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast channel. If you haven't subscribed to them yet, please do so. It's an awesome channel, great content. Thank you to my great moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Darren Sands of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, Tabitha Short, Chris Baber. You guys are amazing. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today. Really appreciate that as well. It's always fun jumping on here and being candid and in the moment, talking shop with you guys. I love it. It's great. It's awesome. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Weekend, baby. Stay safe out there. Stay safe out there and have a great weekend. You guys are amazing. All right. That's going to do it for me. Remember, 8 o'clock. Oh, yeah. There it is. There it is. Frank's on it. Frank's on it. Darren's on it. Darren's on it. The best and worst of A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors with guest host me tonight. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.